the government can leverage on the provisions of the power of substitution. Anybody who is owing that taxpayer will be obligated to pay up the portion of what he owes to the state government through LIRS. So it's not quite as simple as no responsible government will ever pass such a law that will just dip their hands into anybody's bank account. So it's a total falsehood, and people should be rest assured that the state and LIRS are very fair organizations. We go by rule of law and we follow due process.
This is business news. The Lagos state government has disclosed plans to attract multi-billion-naira investments and expand opportunities for residents, small businesses, and taxpayers across the state through tourism. The government noted that strategies have been designed to attract investment and make tourism a major economic driver in Lagos. Special Advisor to the Governor on Tourism, Arts and Culture, Idris Aregbe, says the state's tourism and creative economy initiatives are helping local entrepreneurs increase sales while strengthening Lagos's revenue base. According to him, the Lagos Tourism NBC Trade Fair attracted more than 220 vendors and about 75,000 visitors, generating over 1 billion naira in sales and providing a platform for SMEs to grow their businesses. Aregbe noted that investments in tourism infrastructure, public safety, and event promotion are positioning Lagos as a leading destination for visitors and investors, with increased commercial activities expected to translate into more jobs and greater economic opportunities. He added that programs such as Skill Up Lagos have empowered over 1,000 creatives in the last 2 years, while cultural festivals and tourism campaigns have boosted local trade and supported market women and small business owners. The state government says the long-term goal is to use tourism and the creative industry as key drivers of economic growth, attracting private sector investment, increasing commercial activities, and enhancing the quality of life for Lagos residents. And that's it on Business News.
Sorry to digress back. The term owing, it makes reference to possibly a landlord, maybe who has tenants. If the landlord is owing, for instance, are you saying that the third-party obligation then takes or reaches out to the third party?
If the tenant,
yes, the tenant
is owing the landlord,
okay,
whether it's owing or even for rental amounts that are due,
okay,
right, we can exercise the power of substitution on the tenant.
Interesting.
And the tenant will be required to pay the requisite rent into the state government account through, of course, LIRS account.
Okay.
So basically, once a tenant gets served, he has an obligation. And not just landlord and tenant situation. If, for instance, a citizen has a fixed deposit in a financial institution, we can also attack the fixed deposit and exercise that power of substitution, we write to the banks, and what the bank will do is to, turn the amount over just to the extent of the liability. It cannot be. And even if the amount doesn't meet up with the liability, it means that we can still exercise that power of substitution on other means.
With interest? Just
already there's a penalty.
There's already a penalty.
Yes.
So, okay.
So
all right.
we won't go beyond that.
All right, sir. Let's touch on the new tax laws one more time, as they've introduced enhanced reporting obligations for financial institutions. Now, this includes banks, insurance companies, stockbrokers. Now, as these frameworks take effect, how does LIRS intend to leverage this data lawfully and, of course, to significantly strengthen compliance monitoring?
Okay, I like how you just snuck the word in lawfully.
Lawfully.
Yes. We're a very law-abiding citizen organization, and we ensure that anything we do follows due process, follows the rule of law. So we are blessed with that provision because, data is a very difficult thing to come by in Nigeria. Part of the constraints we have as tax authorities is that of information. We don't have data, we don't have credible data in a lot of the situations. So the tax laws now allow financial institutions, like you said, financial institutions, stockbrokers,
insurance companies, to provide us with information on high-level transactions. Generally, if your turnover is above 25 million naira. So the HNIs are in focus.
Basically, yes.
The high net worth individuals.
The high net worth individuals, because we deal with individuals. The Nigeria Revenue Service deals with corporate organizations. So we're talking about individuals here who turn over at least 25 million in their account. So on a quarterly basis, we're expected to get some information from these institutions. And these institutions are just basically used in profiling, the taxpayers.
Sure.
It's handled in a very confidential manner. Like we said, the conduit really is through the Joint Revenue Board. They will receive all the tax authorities cannot plug into all the banks. It's going to be a nightmare.
Sure.
And it will be a very costly exercise. So the JRB will receive, a lot of this information and then send it to the right tax authorities.
Okay.
And we will then, just use it basically just to profile our taxpayers and to interrogate what they have filed, all their returns.
Interesting. So the term high net worth individual for many people in Nigeria is one a lot of people aspire to, but in other countries, because of how much tax they've had to pay over the years, some have been in a little bit of denial. Whenever you come across them, I'm not rich. They sort of stand back, and I can see and understand why. But thankfully, we've used the term lawfully, and you've also talked about the fact that there are so many steps before the penalties. And let's talk about penalties now, because the NTAA 2025 significantly raises penalties for non-compliance across various obligations. Some stakeholders have even expressed concern that the penalty regime may disproportionately affect micro and small enterprises. So talk to us about LIRS's position on penalty remission and how discretion will be applied in the practice. Okay,
so we're talking about penalties being proportionally applied to make sure that it's probably not to the detriment of the small businesses. So the government has been quite deliberate on how it intends to carry this out. So the government of the day is quite interested in alleviating or making life easier for the low-income earners. For instance, people who earn up to 800,000 are totally tax exempt.
This is per annum?
Per annum, yes.
Okay.
Also, there's a presumptive tax regulation that also allows up to 12 million people in SMEs and people, micro businesses, earning up to 12 million are also exempt. These are basically from the informal sector. You know, the presumptive tax regime actually operates around the informal sector. These are people who don't have proper records and, you know, just do their business informally. So again, you spoke about how we're going to tackle the issue of tax remission. So remission, as we all know, is basically cancellation of debt. So that people who have tax liabilities, are they going to be able to get their liabilities cancelled? And will it be discretionary? How will this be applied? So we try as much as possible to allow very little discretion, because tax is law and we have to go by law. So the basic test in this is, if people make errors or through some level of ignorance, ignorance is not an excuse, but there are some people who are actually, who do it in good faith and, you know, they don't intend to be non-compliant, and the intention is not to cheat or not to pay their taxes. So if one can demonstrate that there was good faith and there were genuine errors, of course, LIRS will be ready to look at such cases.
Sure.
But where people are deliberately non-compliant, recalcitrant, or if they have willfully neglected to carry out what they are expected to do in terms of their tax transactions. So such people should not expect any remission at all. But we, as a careful and law-abiding organization, will always ensure that we have standards and, you know, we do things as non-discretionary as possible.
What should taxpayers, including employers, investors, what should they ultimately expect from these reforms? And if you have a final message that you'd like to leave with Lagosians as the full implementation begins?
Okay, so the new tax laws really should be good news for the citizens at large, because they bring a lot of simplification into the system. For instance, the tax forms, in the way they were, are also allowed to be simplified. To the informal sector, for instance, it's a very simple form that they need to fill, just giving basic data. It hasn't got anything complex. All the reliefs and all that is not involved in that. Also, the new tax laws call for driving tax administration in a digital manner, which means that all tax authorities are expected to strengthen their infrastructure and make sure that they invest in digital equipment.
Okay.
So the benefit of this is that Lagos State always leads. We lead all the time. In terms of filing, people can actually file their tax return electronically from the comfort of their homes, from their bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, wherever you are.
Is literacy a barrier in any way?
Literacy could be a barrier, but in taxation, you want to you apply the Pareto analysis,
okay,
which means that you want to direct, you know, your resources in a particular direction. Wherever your yield is where you direct. So there's a lesson for everybody, and what we do in LIRS is that we have close to 80 locations across the length and breadth of the state. And in all our tax stations, we have what you call a tax champion, somebody who is designated to attend to any walk-in situation. So anybody who has an issue with filing can walk into any of our stations, and the staff there are well-trained. They will make sure that they protect your password and all that. In Nigeria, for instance, we can say the level of literacy is not that high, but in our lives, there's a lot of digital action that is going on.
Sure.
You cannot say, for instance, you want to get a British visa. You do it online We don't hear anybody talking about constraints.
Literacy constraints.
Constraints. People just know how to get on with it. And this is what we expect. So there's a way we receive all the different cadres of society. There's a provision for everyone. For instance, in the informal sector, we have what we call the Ibile Hub. Ibile Hub is a very, very easy to use platform. It's also integrated in our eTax. eTax is a general platform, end-to-end tax solution that we use for all our tax transactions. Okay. But we actually developed this one strictly for the informal sector, for the market women, the artisans. This is what they use, and it's a very, very simplified system. For those who don't also have laptops and computers, we also have the USSD, and people, through the command of certain words and codes, can actually operate the USSD codes. But generally, the message to everyone is, as much as possible, to be compliant. We want voluntary compliance. We don't want to have to enforce on anyone or even apply penalties. So all the citizens of Lagos are expected to, carry out their tax transactions early enough. Do things before the deadline. Don't wait until the last day before you try to do things. And once there's a high level of compliance, everybody's happy, society is happy, the state can generate revenue, the state can plan its revenue, and the state can develop to the levels that we wish our dear state to go.
And with that final note, thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. You've provided so much clarity on these critical reforms. And of course, you've outlined how LIRS is positioning itself for effective implementation. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, and with that, we conclude today's Corporate Talk segment. The show continues after this break. You're still watching The Tax Talk. Now, you can link up with us on social media simply by following us across all platforms using the handles displayed on the screen. Follow, like, share, and comment on our materials, and you might just be doing someone a world of good. Now, tax administration is not only about compliance, it's also about visible development. Now, we make that point quite clear as we bring you Tax Did It.
The Akilo Mini Water Works, where we commissioned and handed over 1 million water works at Akilo in Okba, where we're very impressed working with our partners, Water Aid, to give clean, drinkable water to citizens. And that project will change the face of water production and water usage in Lagos. We moved the journey from the Adion Phase 2 project, which is a 70 million gallon water plant. And the consultant said to date they are at about 85–86% completion. But the remaining 50% is very, very critical. That is where they begin to install the electromechanical equipment. These are the things that will determine the real efficiency production line of the water plant.
The implementation of new tax laws marks a significant moment for tax administration in the country. But we at the Tax Talk are particularly concerned about it as it affects Lagos State. An informed public strengthens the system. Stay connected with the Tax Talk across all our online platforms for continued clarity and updates. Now, you should also subscribe to our YouTube and, of course, go through past episodes of the show. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. My name, once again, is Titilayo Oyinsan. Join us again next week for another edition of the Tax Talk. Goodbye.